This is Miss Boo.
I almost died on my first night at work. And the worst part is, they told me it was normal. I had been unemployed for 8 months when I got the email. I was broke, behind on rent, barely eating, so I didn't question anything. The job was in a glass skyscraper downtown, midnight shift. Good money, too good. The interview was in a concrete basement. No windows, just fluorescent lights, and a man in a suit who asked me if I lived alone and how I handled isolation. He hired me on the spot. My title would be Archival Disposal Technician, and my shift would run from midnight until 8 in the morning. My job was simple: feed documents into a massive industrial shredder. Before leaving, he pointed at a sheet of rules. He said, "Don't read the red folders. If the machine leaks red liquid, unplug it and face the corner. If you find a photo of yourself, shred it without breaking eye contact. And if someone knocks on the elevator at 3 a.m., don't let them in. Read them carefully, follow them exactly. I will be back at 8 in the morning to relieve you." I thought it was a stupid joke. So I started working, box after box, just paper. The work was mindless and deeply monotonous. For the first few hours, my mind wandered as my hands automatically grabbed, tossed, and reached for more paper, until I found a red folder. I was emptying the 14th box of the night when I saw the first anomaly. I wasn't going to open it, really, but it slipped. Papers fell out, and I saw something I wasn't supposed to. A report about a body emptied from the inside, and a drawing, a thing made of shadows, something that lives inside shadows and moves when you stop looking at it. I shut the folder and threw it into the shredder. The machine jammed instantly, and then thick red liquid started leaking out. I should have followed the rules. I didn't. Actually, I tried to fix it. I reached inside and pulled out a stack of photographs. The first one was me, a kid in my bedroom, but the shadow behind me wasn't human. I flipped to the next. Same thing in high school. Then a recent photo. The shadow was closer, growing, and then the photo moved. The shadow inside it turned and looked at me. At the same time, the machine started making a sound, like a heartbeat. The red liquid spread across the floor, like veins, crawling toward me. The lights started flickering, and my shadow started changing, stretching and breaking, becoming the same thing from the photos. I remembered the rule: don't break eye contact. I had to shred the photos, but the machine was jammed, damn it. So I reached inside again. The liquid was so hot, it felt alive. I found something stuck between the blades, hard, like bone. I pulled it out. The machine roared back to life. For a second, I looked away. The lights exploded, and my shadow lifted off the wall. It was real now, and coming for me. I forced myself to look back at the photos, and shoved them into the shredder. One by one, the thing screamed. And no, not from the machine, but from everywhere. And then, silence. Everything suddenly stopped. My shadow went back to normal. The liquid turned into dust. My hand wasn't even injured. I just sat there until morning. At 8 a.m., the man came back, looked at the room, and smiled. "Good job. I didn't think you'd survive. I honestly did not think you were going to survive the night. The turnover rate for the midnight shift is incredibly high." I asked him what this place was. He said they weren't a normal law firm. They protect reality. The machine doesn't destroy paper. It erases things. Memories, concepts, entities. If people remember them, they become real. He told me the last guy opened the door at 3 a.m. They never found him. I left, but I already knew I was coming back. I needed the money, and now I know what I'm really feeding into that machine.
feel kind of stupid even saying this out loud, but I can't fall asleep after what happened, so I just need to talk. I work night shifts at a small clinic, nothing serious, and most nights are painfully quiet, like nothing ever really happens. Tonight started the same way. It was around 2 a.m., I think, and I remember checking the time because I was getting really sleepy. At some point, I looked up and the front door was open. I didn't hear it open, no sound, nothing. It was just suddenly open. And there was an old woman standing there, already inside, like she'd been there longer than I realized. She looked a bit odd, not normal. White hair, pale skin, like a ghost from a movie. But she wasn't moving, just standing there and looking at me. I asked if she needed help, just routine, and she didn't answer. Not like she ignored me, just no reaction at all. So I asked again, a bit louder, still nothing. I got up and walked closer, thinking maybe she was confused or something. That's when I noticed her clothes looked slightly damp, not wet, just off somehow. Then she weirdly smiled. It wasn't a normal smile, you know. It didn't change her face, it just appeared. And I remember thinking I didn't want her any closer, which is weird because that's literally my job. So I told her I'd grab the doctor and turned around. I was gone maybe a few seconds. When I came back, she wasn't near the entrance anymore. She was right next to the desk. I didn't hear her move, not even a single step. She was just suddenly there, much closer than she should have been. I asked her again what she needed, and this time she spoke. I think I'm in the wrong place. I thought she meant the clinic, so I asked what she was looking for. She tilted her head slightly and said, "This isn't where I was supposed to wake up." That didn't make sense, but it didn't sound confused either. It sounded like she meant it. Then she leaned forward a little and said, "Can you check if I'm still inside?" I didn't understand what that meant. I turned around and looked at the camera monitor behind me. The front door was open, but there was no one there. No one at the desk either. Just empty. I stood there for a few seconds trying to process it, then I turned back. She was still there. Same position, same expression. I said I needed to call someone, and she just said, "Okay," like everything was normal. I turned to grab the phone, and when I looked back, she was gone. The door was closed again. Everything looked normal. I checked the cameras right away. There's nothing. No one coming in, no one leaving. Just me standing there. I left early that night. I didn't even try to explain it. Now when I'm home, and I keep thinking about what she said, about being in the wrong place, and asking if she was still inside. I don't know why, but I keep checking the mirror, because something feels off. Not in the apartment, in me.
I got a job as a night security guard in a glass business center a few months ago. It's one of those modern buildings, all mirrors, glass walls, open spaces. Looks expensive, but at night it feels completely different. During the day, it's full of people, noise, phones ringing, elevators constantly moving. But after midnight, it's just empty. Not normal quiet, more like the whole place is holding its breath. My shift starts at 11 p.m. and by around 1 a.m., everyone's gone. Lights dim automatically and you're just walking through reflections of yourself from every angle. At first, it was just a feeling, like you're not really alone, even though you clearly are. The first weird thing happened on my third night. I was doing a routine check on the 7th floor. Empty offices, glass everywhere. You can see straight through the whole corridor. And as I was walking, I heard something behind me. Footsteps. Soft, but not matching mine. I stopped. The sound stopped too. I turned around. Nothing. Just an empty hallway and my reflection. I told myself it was echo. The building is weird like that. But when I started walking again, the footsteps came back, slightly out of sync with mine. That's when I sped up and finished the round without looking back. After that, things started happening more often. Elevator doors opening on empty floors. Lights turning on in offices I just checked. Chairs slightly moved. Nothing extreme, just enough to make you doubt yourself. Then one night, around 3 a.m., I was at the main desk watching the cameras. Everything looked normal until one of the parking feeds flickered. I leaned closer and I saw them. People standing between the cars, not moving, just there. 4, maybe 5, wearing reflective vests, helmets, like workers. I switched cameras. Same area, empty, completely empty. I switched back. They were still there. Same positions. That's when I felt it. Real fear. I turned that monitor off. Didn't report it. I don't know why. It just felt like something you're not supposed to talk about. About a week later, something worse happened. I was on the 5th floor. One of the meeting rooms had its lights on. I knew I turned them off earlier, so I walked in. The chairs were pulled out, like people had just been sitting there. And then I heard breathing. Very faint, but not mine. I froze, didn't move, didn't turn. It felt like someone was standing right behind me, close enough to touch. I forced myself to turn around. Nothing there. But the glass? It wasn't just reflecting me. For a second, I saw shapes behind me. Silhouettes standing around the table, exactly where the chairs were. I left that room and didn't go back. After that shift, I asked one of the older guards. He didn't laugh, didn't look surprised, just sighed. He said, workers died here during construction. Falls, accidents, things covered up. I asked why no one talks about it. He said, people tried, nothing changes. And night guards either quit or stop talking about what they see. I asked him what I should do. He looked at me and said, don't stay on the floors too long. I asked why, and he said, they don't like when you notice them. I'm writing this from the security desk right now because I don't feel okay just sitting here in silence.
I took the night shift at the morgue because it paid more and no one else really wanted it. And at the time, it felt like one of those jobs where nothing actually happens. You just sit there, do your checks, keep things in order, go home. It didn't feel scary at first, just quiet in a way that's hard to explain. Like the kind of quiet where you start noticing your own breathing a little too much. It's in the basement, 2 floors down. And when you take that service elevator at night, it already feels like you're going somewhere you're not really supposed to stay too long. The air is colder down there, heavier almost, like it just sits still. And after about 2 a.m., everything above you goes silent. No footsteps, no carts, nothing. Like the whole building just switches off. The first few nights were fine, honestly boring. I kept telling myself people just overthink places like that. But then on my 4th shift, I noticed one of the drawers wasn't fully closed. Not open enough to be obvious, just slightly off, like it didn't click in properly. I remember standing there staring at it longer than I should have, then just pushing it in and moving on. But as I turned away, I heard it shift again. Not loud, just that soft metal sound, like something sliding just a little. I turned back and yeah, same drawer, same small gap. And at that point, I didn't freak out or anything. I just told myself, it's old equipment. Maybe the rail's loose, temperature changes, whatever. There's always a reason. I pushed it in again, harder this time, and left it. But the next night, it was the same thing. Same drawer, same exact position. And that's when it started bothering me. Not because it was scary, but because it didn't make sense. Things don't reset themselves like that, right? I checked the tag just to ground myself. Male, mid-50s, brought in a couple days earlier, nothing unusual. After that, I just decided to ignore it, treat it like a faulty drawer and not think about it too much. And that worked for a few days. Then one night, around 3 a.m. or so, I was at the desk going through logs, and I heard something from the storage room behind me. At first, I thought it was just the ventilation or something settling, but then it happened again. 2 short taps. Metal, clear enough that I knew I didn't imagine it. I sat there for a few seconds listening, then got up and walked in. Everything looked normal. All the drawers closed, nothing out of place. I actually felt kind of stupid standing there, to be honest. I turned to leave, and then it happened again, closer this time, from the left side. I looked at the row, nothing moving, but that feeling was there, like your brain is trying to tell you something before you understand it. I walked over to the drawer, the same one. My hand hovered over it for a second because suddenly I didn't feel as sure as before, but I still opened it. The body was there, exactly how it should be, still, covered, nothing wrong. I even checked the tag again, just to be sure, everything normal. I remember actually feeling relieved, like I had worked myself up over nothing. So I pushed the drawer back in and just stood there for a second. And then I heard breathing, right behind me, not mine. I froze, not even out of panic, just my body stopped. Like when you know someone is standing too close behind you, inside your space. I didn't turn around right away. I just listened. The breathing was slow, uneven, like someone trying not to be heard. And the worst part was, it didn't sound like it was coming from the room. It sounded like it was right next to my ear. I forced myself to turn. There was no one there. The room was empty. Every drawer closed. Everything exactly how it should be, except the one I had just pushed in was open again. Not slightly this time, wider, enough that I could see inside without stepping closer. I don't know why I looked. I really don't. Maybe I'm stupid. So the body was still there, but the sheet had slipped down just enough. And I'm not saying it moved. I'm not saying it was alive, but the mouth was open, just a little, like it was about to say something. I left right after that. I didn't run, but I didn't stop either. Just walked straight out, up the stairs, out of the basement. I told myself I'd come back after a few minutes. I didn't, and I didn't report it either, because the thing that stayed with me wasn't the drawer or the breathing. It was the timing. That breathing only started after I opened it. I didn't go back for 2 days. When I finally did, everything looked normal again. Same room, same rows, nothing out of place. But that drawer, it was closed, fully closed, like it had never been a problem. I checked the log. That body had been transferred out the night before, and the drawer was empty, and I still heard breathing from inside it.
I work the night shift at a gas station just off the highway, and there's something I haven't been able to shake since it happened. I've been doing overnights for about 8 months now. After 2 a.m., the place goes dead quiet, like unnaturally quiet. The hum of the fridges gets louder, the lights feel harsher, every little sound feels wrong somehow. I got used to that. What I didn't get used to was the night he showed up. It was a Wednesday, around 2:10 in the morning, when a dark sedan pulled into Pump 3. I noticed it right away because I hadn't seen a single car in almost 40 minutes. The car stopped, but no one got out. The engine stayed running. I waited, thinking the driver would step out, start pumping gas, but nothing. 5 minutes passed, then 10. The car just sat there, headlights pointed straight at the store windows. At me. Eventually, the headlights switched off, but the engine was still running. That's when I started feeling off. After almost 20 minutes, the driver finally stepped out. He looked normal, mid-30s maybe, dark hoodie, jeans, nothing strange about him, except he didn't go for the pump, didn't even look at it. He just stood there, staring straight at the store, at me. I tried to act normal, like I was organizing stuff behind the counter, but I could feel it. He wasn't looking at the store. He was looking through it. After about a minute, he walked inside. He didn't browse, didn't grab anything, didn't check his phone. He just walked straight up to the counter and stood there, silent. I gave him a casual, "Hey, how's it going?" He didn't answer, just stared at me, completely blank. After a few seconds, he asked, "What time do you get off?" That question hit wrong. Customers make small talk, but this wasn't that. I told him 6 a.m., even though my shift ends at 5. He nodded slowly, like he was saving that information. Then he asked, "You here by yourself?" I lied, told him my coworker was in the back. He didn't buy anything, didn't say goodbye, just turned around and walked out. But he didn't leave. He got back in his car and just sat there, engine still running. 15 minutes passed, then 30. I kept checking the security monitor, waiting to see brake lights, waiting to see him drive off. Instead, around 3 a.m., he moved the car, not toward the exit, toward the front, right in front of the store entrance. Then he turned the engine off. That's when I locked the door. We're not supposed to lock it overnight unless something's wrong. But something was definitely wrong. A few minutes later, he stepped out again, walked up to the entrance, and tried the handle. It didn't open. He looked up at me through the glass and smiled. Not angry, not friendly, just calm, like he expected it to be locked. He tried the handle again, slower this time, then leaned slightly, trying to see deeper inside the store. I grabbed the phone and pretended I was on a call. He watched me for a few seconds, then walked back to his car. I thought that was it, but he didn't leave. He just sat there, completely still. The whole parking lot empty, highway quiet. It felt like the entire world shrank down to just me and him. I finally called the non-emergency police line, told them there was a guy outside who'd been there for almost an hour, asking what time I got off work. While I was on the phone, I saw his brake lights turn on. I thought, okay, he's leaving. Instead, he drove forward and parked along the side of the building, out of sight. That's when I panicked. There's a blind spot back there, near the dumpsters. Camera doesn't fully cover it. I just kept staring at the monitor, waiting, terrified I'd see him walk toward the employee door. Minutes felt like hours. Dispatcher said officers were on the way. Then I saw movement. He stepped back into frame, walking slowly toward the front again. He didn't try the door this time. He just stood there, staring in, waiting. Then finally, police lights flashed across the parking lot. The second he saw them, he got in his car and drove off, before they even pulled in. They took my statement, checked the footage, but there wasn't much they could do. He hadn't broken in, hadn't threatened me. They told me to call again if he came back. He didn't come back the next night, or the one after that. But about 2 weeks later, during another quiet shift, I was checking the cameras when I felt my stomach drop. A dark sedan drove past the station. Slow, didn't turn in, didn't stop. But as it passed under the streetlight, I saw the driver for just a second. It was him. He wasn't looking at the road. He wasn't looking at the pumps. He was looking straight at the store. And even though he kept driving that time, I haven't worked a single shift since, without wondering if one night he's going to come back, and this time, not leave at all. A few days after that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. It didn't feel random. It felt directed, like he came there for a reason. And eventually I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I went back through the security footage, not just from that night, but from the nights before, just to be sure I wasn't imagining things. And that's when my stomach dropped, because I saw his car before, more than once. He hadn't pulled in or stopped. He just drove past slowly at almost the exact same time every night. And every single time, he turned his head toward the store, like he was checking if I was there. And that's when it stopped feeling like a weird coincidence and started feeling like he had been watching me. About a week later, one of the officers who took my statement came back, but this time he didn't act like a customer. He didn't smile or make small talk. He just walked up to me and asked me to step outside. And I could tell something had changed. He told me they had found the guy not far from the highway, sitting alone in his car on the side of the road, just staring ahead like he was waiting for something. And when they brought him in for questioning, at first it seemed like just another strange case, until he started asking about me. Not my name, not who I was, just one thing. Is she still working there? and that was already bad. But then they looked into his past. It turned out he had a restraining order filed by his ex-wife, and when the officer started describing her, I felt this cold, sinking feeling, because she was about my height as me, same build, same dark hair, and the part that really got to me was that she used to work night shifts too, at a gas station. And then about a year ago, she disappeared, without a trace, no body, no arrest, nothing ever proven, and the case just sat there, unfinished. So when they showed him my picture, he didn't hesitate and didn't question it. He just looked at it and calmly said, "That's her," like he was completely certain. The officer told me I was lucky I locked the door that night, because based on what the psycho said, he wasn't just sitting there or passing time. He was waiting for my shift to end so he could follow me and finish what he believed he didn't finish before. My hand's now shaking, and that part still doesn't sit right with me, because when he stood outside the glass and weirdly smiled, he probably wasn't even seeing me. He was seeing someone else, someone from his past or anything. And whatever story he had in his head, he was ready to end it. I quit the next morning, and I haven't worked a night shift since. But even now when I'm driving alone at night, I catch myself staring into the rearview mirror just a little longer than I should, because there's always this quiet thought in the back of my mind that one day he might see me again, and in his head, it will all make sense all over again.
If this story gave you chills, don't forget to subscribe, because the next one might be even worse.